Ever thought if you could solve that 3-page lengthy problem of that boring math class in a matter of a second? Or why a computer can multitask so better but we humans, who created it, couldn't? If you could devise your time machine, had you got enough brains? Ever thought about what would happen if you could use 100 of your brain? Well, if all these tasks were done in the blink of an eye, then it would turn very comfortable for the human race. In this video, we will see what will happen if we use the full capacity of our brain. Scientists have been researching for decades to vouch for the percentage of brains we humans can use. The origin of this myth that humans are only able to use 10% of their brain took from some prevalent theories from the 19th century. And since then it has become a hot topic for some science fiction without any scientific credibility. This myth took speed with a common belief that the percentage of the brain used by the great scientist Albert Einstein was 13%, which is just 3% more utilization than the normal human. He did many amazing scientific discoveries and people thought that if we were able to use 100% of our brains then that would bring wonders to this world. A theory says that a person with a 100% activated brain would shake uncontrollably and become unable to maintain consciousness. The idea that more activation equals more brainpower is ultimately a misunderstanding of how biological and information processing systems work. It comes down to how our brain processes information. Our brain doesn't work like most computer CPUs. Most current generation CPUs have cores that can do almost any task at a fixed clock speed. Every CPU cores are the same. Because of this universal versatility, you can utilize it to 100% CPU time utilization, in which every core is doing everything as fast as it can, to do the set of tasks you give to it. Because the RAM channel bandwidth is very high, you have a relatively little problem with task scheduling. For the brain, you can replace cores with nuclei, which is a cluster of neurons that does a specific task. Our brain processes a different kind of task, information in a different part of the brain, cores, and there are so many of them. Even every muscle that controls your fingers has its own motor core, a network of neurons dedicated to controlling that finger. If a core is not receiving enough information, it will not utilize every neuron on that core. But if it receives more information than it can handle, it will run at 100% utility, and ignore what it can't process at the time. The data is lost. Now, there's a special bundle of cores, called the prefrontal cortex. That's where you make conscious decisions based on the information coming from other brain areas. Although this part is physically relatively big compared to other cores, this core is easily overloaded because the task is so complex. Your standard IQ test mostly measures this core's performance. Some say that this brain region is where your consciousness resides, but it hasn't been proven to be true or not. It is still an interesting controversial topic. As it is well clear that one cannot use the full capacity of its brain, here's what you can do to increase your usage of the brain. Like any other organ, the brain is affected by a person's lifestyle, diet, and the amount that they exercise. To improve the health and function of the brain, a person can do the following things. Eating well improves overall health and well-being. It also reduces the risk of developing health issues that may lead to dementia. Regular exercise also reduces the risk of health problems that may lead to dementia. Cardiovascular activities, such as walking briskly for 30 minutes a day, can be enough to reduce the risk of brain function decline. The more a person uses their brain, the better their mental functions become. For this reason, brain training exercises are a good way to maintain overall brain health. A recent study conducted over 10 years found that people who used brain training exercises reduced the risk of dementia by 29%. The most effective training focused on increasing the brain's speed and ability to process complex information quickly. This video concludes that because of the organ's complexity, scientists are still learning about the brain. The notion that a person uses only 10% of their brain is a myth. fMRI scans show that even simple activities require almost all the brain to be active. While there is still a lot to learn about the brain, researchers continue to fill in the gaps between fact and fiction. If you like this content, make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel for such informative videos.